What's up, everyone? Ethan here. Welcome back into the Drives Pro Sports channel. Um, Different kind of video today, guys. We're going to do our Week 1 NFL reactions and our fantasy implications. Before we get going, sorry for, or I guess thank you guys for being patient. I haven't uploaded in over a week. Didn't really know what I wanted to upload as we were approaching Week 1. I kind of just wanted to enjoy the week before. I know a lot of you guys maybe look for some uploads coming for that Week 1 and some fantasy advice. Didn't necessarily get around to it. Might have just been lazy on my part, but I think I was mostly just wanting to kind of hang out and see how Week 1 goes. Advice going into Week 1 is always weird anyways. Week 1's always weird. I think now that we are through the majority of the games this weekend, I think I feel comfortable now getting some of my reactions out to you guys and my fantasy advice out to you guys. Before I get into it, if you guys find this, please like the video if you find it entertaining at all or helpful. Feel free to comment, talk about anything we talk about in the video, or send me your fantasy questions. And subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more throughout the football season. But yeah, let's get into this. Just going to go game by game so I can talk a little bit about each team, at least. I'm going to try to keep each game to about 3 minutes of review time, so it'll be a little bit longer video, but I wanted to get through as much as I can for you guys. So fantasy football mostly here, but I'll also give some of my own personal opinions about some of these games. But let's get into it now. Starting off with Thursday night game between the Ravens and the Chiefs. Probably one of the better games of the week or the weekend. And, of course, the Chiefs end up winning. I say that as a Broncos fan. Can't stand the Chiefs. However, I realize that they're great. Every time they're in primetime game, it seems like ends up being a good game. So I get it. But fantasy implications, let's start with the Chiefs side. And before I get into the Chiefs real quick, sorry for the visual. We're doing it landscape. Hopefully it turns out better on YouTube, but I know it's not the greatest visual. I just wanted to have something on my phone so I could see. So bear with me there. But starting with the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. He didn't have a great game. Ultimately, two good defenses in this game, so I'm not too worried about Patrick Mahomes. I think we just have to realize that his rushing upside isn't very good, so you're going to have guys like Josh Allen and Lamar outscore him a lot of the time. However, I think their offense is going to be overall a lot better this year, so he should have games where he's scoring 30 fantasy points, 4 touchdowns. Still, you just have to wait for those to come. Against the Ravens defense Week 1, it probably wasn't going to happen. Still in QB1. Fantasy-wise, Pacheco, just keep him as your RB1 for the whole year unless he gets injured. He's getting passing work. He's getting rushing down work. He seems great right now. Keep him as your RB1. Don't overthink it. The receivers, Rashee Rice is the wide receiver 1. We thought that coming in. He's going to be used a lot underneath, but he's going to see targets. So he's a wide receiver 1. He had a good game. He's a wide receiver 1 for fantasy for me, probably mid-tier RB1, wide receiver 1, maybe lower tier wide receiver 1. If he's scoring 7 touchdowns again this year like he did last year, he's going to be great. Xavier Worthy went off. He's probably like a low-tier wide receiver 2 for me. I mean, don't expect that to happen every single week. He only had like 3 or 4 touches, and he ended up scoring 2 touchdowns. Especially when Hollywood Brown comes back, I think that's going to take away more from Worthy than it is Rice. So, cool game from him. He's a good player, but just temper your expectations with him. Rashee Rice is still wide receiver 1. Travis Kelce, I think every tight end this week that we'll continue to get into had a horrible week. Almost everyone. Travis Kelce probably shouldn't be drafted in the first, second, third rounds. He probably was like a 4th-round pick this year. He's just getting older. Some other weapons are emerging. He's still tight end 1. Just temper your expectations with him this year and tight ends in general almost. Moving on to Ravens, Lamar had a great game. He went rushing like crazy. He's going to keep doing that all season. He's a great play. Receiving for the Ravens, though, is going to take a hit from it as we move over to the receivers. Like, for example, Zay Flowers. He's a great player. It's just the receiving volume and the passing volume in the offense is going to limit his ceiling. He's going to have some games where he pops off and gets like a long touchdown. However, he's going to get a lot of games where he gets like 5 receptions for like 30 yards. So I think Zay Flowers is like a wide receiver too. You start him, but you just don't feel incredible about it. If he gets targets though, so he's a fine play. Don't start Rashad Bateman. And let's move on to what everyone's really talking about, tight ends. Mark Andrews looks horrible. He looks old. He looks washed. He is coming off of like a car accident injury thing. That may be something to it, but Isaiah Likely looks amazing. He got a lot of targets. He literally was less than a foot or a inch away from tying the game at the end there, which I really wish he would have, for fantasy purposes and real life purposes. But Isaiah Likely looks like tight end 1 there. I think he's going to be the waiver wire grab this week. And I'm personally viewing him as the tight end 1. Maybe Mark Andrews comes back and evens it out a little bit. Maybe they use Isaiah Likely as more as like a receiver. However, I'm a little nervous if I'm a tight end Mark Andrews owner. We still have to see only week 1 still, but doesn't look great for Mark Andrews. Derrick Henry rushing, not very good for PPR. He gets in the end zone as we all thought he would. He's probably going to continue to score a lot of touchdowns. You continue to start him, but instead of a RB1, I think of him more as an RB2. Justice Hill got a lot of pass catching work out of the backfield, so you like him if you're in full PPR leagues, but not. You just have to keep playing Derrick Henry, and we'll see what happens. But the game script also had him for Justice Hill to get more touches, Derrick Henry, and if the Ravens are going to be winning more games this year, which you think they are, Derrick Henry is going to get more touches. So just keep that in mind. Lamar is going to take some rushing upside away from Derrick Henry. All right, the Friday game. I'm going to try to speed up a little bit. Starting with the Packers here, Jordan Love had an injury scare. He's probably going to miss 3 to 4 weeks. While he's absent, do not start any. I'm not comfortable starting any of the Packers receivers. Malik Willis seems terrible. Maybe they make a move and bring someone else in there, but I'm not comfortable starting any of them while he's out. I would almost just try to find any other person to start besides the Packers wide receivers when Jordan Love's out. Thankfully, though, he isn't out all season. When he's back, Jayden Reed looks like the wide receiver number 1. You start him. Wicks, keep on the bench. Dobbs, you keep on the bench in case of injuries. And then Watson is a very low flex play for me. If he's not going to score a touchdown, he's not going to be very good, is what it seems like. So maybe like a low-end wide receiver 2 for Watson. Jacobs, he did not look great. He did end up breaking some runs in the second half. I feel good about Jacobs when Love is back and playing. However, I'm a little bit nervous for the next few weeks while he's out. They're just going to defenses are going to key in on the run, make the quarterback make plays. Jacobs is probably going to have a hard time. You just hope he stays healthy until Jordan Love gets back, and then the offense is kind of back to normal. Jacobs is like a low end RB1 when Jordan Love is playing, probably low end RB2. Mid-range RB2 while Love is out. So you just keep playing him, but in hope he stays healthy and they don't continue to split carries too much when Lloyd's back in the lineup. Philly, Jalen Hurts looked fine. He gets some rushing upside, of course, but he did throw some interceptions that were a little ugly. Again, it's week 1 in a weird place to play. Don't overreact to it. You just start him every week. Sorry, I got distracted there for a second, but Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown must plays every week. Brown has a long touchdown catch. Devontae Smith sees some targets, some catches. He has a normal Devontae Smith game. I think with them, it's going to be who's going to catch the touchdown. Mostly it's going to be A.J. Brown. But those weeks that Devontae Smith catches the touchdown, he is going to have a great week for you. So you just kind of hope they both stay healthy and keep playing them. Saquon Barkley, the story of the game, went crazy. RB1, as long as he's healthy. Touching on the tight ends, I guess, both tight ends for both teams. I mean, the tight ends for the Packers seem mid. You don't want to play them. If you want to play one, pick up Kraft, and he maybe like a tight end 2. Goddard, he's a low-end tight end 1 if you want to play him. Let's move on, though. We got so many games. I don't want this video to take too long. Talk about Pittsburgh, Atlanta. Very disappointing for Atlanta. Couple things. I think Pittsburgh defense is top 3 in the NFL. I think Atlanta is still kind of figuring some things out. I don't think they played in the preseason. Kirk Cousins coming back from injury. I think you don't panic if you're Atlanta, if you own Atlanta players. Kirk Cousins did not look great. Again, good defense coming back from injury, new offense and stuff. I'm not starting Kirk Cousins really in any league if I have him, or I don't want to. However, I think they're going to turn it around and he's going to have some good games going forward. It's just a really bad matchup in week 1. Bijan Robinson, they seem like they just want to use him like crazy. Tyler Algier, I think, only had like 10% of the snaps or something like that. So I was high on Tyler Algier in the offseason. Looks like he's just a handcuff to Bijan Robinson. If Bijan Robinson's healthy, he's in RB1. Drake London, who I really loved, not panicking on him yet, had a horrible game. Caught 2 passes, 3 targets, I think it was. Awful game. I think it just comes down to the defense and the Falcons offense coming into its own and like getting used to each other. They came out after the game and said they need to get Drake London more targets. I think Drake London's like a wide receiver 2 in fantasy. I'm not panicking yet. I think the Falcons offense just had a tough day, and Drake London will end up working out. Kyle Pitts, he caught a touchdown. Didn't have a ton of targets either, though. If he didn't catch a touchdown, he would have had a horrible day. Kind of same thing with him, though. I think the offense will eventually get it going a little bit, as long as Kirk Cousins stays healthy, And then if he doesn't, maybe we'll see some Penix later this season, and maybe he'll be better or worse. I don't know. But just don't panic on the Falcons offense yet. It was a horrible matchup. Pittsburgh, Russell Wilson did not play. Justin Fields played. They ended up winning the game. It didn't look very good, though. We'll see what happens going forward. I'm not wanting to start any of those quarterbacks. The only receiver on that team of note is George Pickens. He had a decent game. I feel comfortable playing him. I think he's like the only receiver there. So you just play him and he's like a wide receiver 2 that you hope just catches a touchdown or gets targets. The backfield in Pittsburgh, kind of ugly. I mean, Najee Harris ended up getting the majority of the carries. I think that's mostly just because Jaylen Warren's coming off of an injury. It's a 50-50 split. Najee Harris is probably like a low-end RB2 for me, maybe an RB2. And then Jaylen Warren is like a flex play. Not excited about those guys. Pat Freiermuth did not look very good. He's like a stream tight end play if you want to. All right, continuing. Arizona-Buffalo, fun game, high-scoring game. Josh Allen, QB1. Looks fantastic. Lot of different target sharing as far as the Bills wide receivers go. Shakir catches the touchdown. Coleman got targets. Holland's got targets. Don't feel great about any of them. Maybe one of them eventually emerges, but I think I view all of them as like a flex play in PPR right now after week 1. Don't feel great about targeting it or playing any of them yet. Tight ends for them, Dawson Knox, Kincaid. Kincaid, I think, had 1 catch. Awful. I was high on Kincaid. A little nervous about that. They still have Knox very involved. Maybe it just was not the matchup for them. I'm sure he'll turn it around eventually and average a 6-7 targets game, 5 catches game like he was in last year. He's averaging around 8 to 10 fantasy points a game, which is solid for a tight end. But a little worried about that. It's not seeing him have a factor at all in a high-scoring game week 1. The real winner is James Cook. He's just featured. Unless something happens to him, he's an RB1, especially in PPR. Love James Cook. Moving on to Arizona. Kyler Murray played decent. Trey McBride got a lot of looks. He didn't do a lot with them. Still view Trey McBride as a tight end 1. You can play Kyler Murray. He has that rushing upside as well. He's a quarterback 1. The receivers are the main story, I think. Marvin Harrison Jr. caught 1 pass, had pretty much no fantasy points. Kyler Murray missed him wide open towards the end of the game for a touchdown. Don't panic on Marvin Harrison yet. He is a rookie wide receiver, and he's still developing that connection. First game, he's gonna, as the year goes on, he's gonna have a lot of more upside and a lot better games. He's right now maybe just a wide receiver two. Bottom line is he's still like the main wide receiver in Arizona. He'll have better games going forward. Just be patient with him. James Conner had a great game. Behind James Conner, D'Amico, blanking on his name, the other backup running back for the Cardinals ended up playing just as much as Trey Benson. Benson's not looking great right now. James Conner went off, though. So, if James Conner's healthy, he's an RB1. Moving on, Titans-Bears. Weird game Titans-Bears was. Ugly at times. Titans look horrible. I don't really get anyone that was going into the season thinking the Titans were going to be a good offense this year. Will Levis is trash. He is still young, so maybe he grows this season and has some better games, but he had a horrible interception. They had control of that game early, and they just gave it away because essentially their quarterback isn't very good and can't really make plays. So if you have Hopkins or Ridley, they're like wide receiver 2 flex plays, but other than that, looks horrible. The tight end in Tennessee, Chig, I think his name is. Crazy name, I know, but he caught a touchdown. A nice catch from him. He's a streaming play for tight ends. We have some tight end injuries this week, so you can pick him up and play him if you really want to, but I don't love it at all. The backfield is still ugly. Pollard had a nice rushing touchdown. However, it's the split backfield still, and I don't like playing any of those guys. Maybe you play Pollard as like a RB2 and Spears is like a flex play. However, it was still pretty split. It just depends on like who's going to score the touchdown. Don't like either of those guys unless one of them gets hurt, and then you have like the handcuff. But it still feels pretty ugly to me. And the offense isn't very good, so don't love it. Moving on to the Bears, Caleb Williams, rookie QB. Rookie QBs this week were horrible. We'll get into it more, but just not very good from him. Kind of to be expected with rookie QBs, though. Keenan Allen got hurt. We'll have to see what the extent of that injury is. I forgot to say this earlier. Should have said it earlier. I'm recording this late Sunday night after a Sunday night game. So we'll see what happens with all these injuries later this week. But keep track of Keenan Allen. DJ Moore's wide receiver 1 in that offense. He did not have a great game, though. That's just how it's going to be with a rookie quarterback. They'll get it figured out more later as the season goes on, but you don't know how it's going to look. Odunze, bad game. Pretty much did nothing. Again, though, rookie with a rookie quarterback, they'll eventually figure it out and get better, especially if Keenan Allen's hurt. Then I like Odunze as like a maybe low-end wide receiver 2 with a struggling Caleb Williams to start the year at least. DJ Moore is like a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 probably. The running backs there, very ugly. DeAndre Swift had a horrible game. I just don't think he's it. DeAndre Swift is just going to have a few games where he does very good, and then he's going to have a lot of games where he's mid or bad. And they also like the other running backs there, so I would look to get rid of DeAndre Swift if you can. You're probably not going to get a whole lot for him, but he's like a low-end RB2 right now. Maybe like a high-end flex. Tight end in Chicago, didn't see much of him today. Don't love him. Maybe streaming guy. Let's move on. Patriots, Bengals. Maybe the surprise of the day. Patriots looked okay. I think they were who we all thought they were going to be. Not a very good offense. Has a good defense. Jacoby Brissett's in there. Don't care for him at all. The receivers, they all weren't very good at all. Not wanting to play any of them. Stevenson had a good game. He's the only guy there. He's like a low-end RB1, high-end RB2. Tight ends as well. Didn't do really anything. The Bengals, very bad game from them offensively. They have a lot of weird stuff going on. T. Higgins did not play week 1. Jamar Chase is being a wide receiver diva. Joe Burrow, all around bad offense. I think they do this all the time, though. They always start off horribly. They slowly start to figure it out, and then someone gets hurt or Joe Burrow gets hurt. Hopefully they don't get hurt this year and they make a run later in the season. Not a very good start. Very ugly start from them. Just not really much to say besides week one was bad for them. Hopefully they figure it out like they usually do. Let's keep going. Fun game, Houston and Indy. The quarterbacks on both sides look great. Start both the quarterbacks, QB1s on both sides. Receivers for Houston, Diggs caught 2 touchdowns, or a touchdown. I forget if it was 2 or 1, but Diggs had a great game. Collins looks great. Tank Dell did fine. I think that's kind of going to be how it is. I think Nico Collins is the wide receiver 1. He'll have some big games, and then he'll have some just fine games. Depends on if he gets the touchdown. Stephon Diggs is going to hog the touchdowns. He's just like that guy in the red zone, I think. And he's a great route runner. And then Tank Dell's more that big play guy. So it's just you're playing them all every week. I view Nico Collins as a wide receiver 1. Diggs is probably a wide receiver 2. Tank Dell is probably like a low end 2. It just depends who's getting the targets or the reception or the touchdowns in the offense week to week. And then moving on to Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's an RB1. He went crazy. I liked Joe Mixon going into the year. I didn't get enough Joe Mixon. I'm very sad about it. If he's healthy, he's going to be awesome. Not much to say about the tight ends there. I think they just have a lot of talent elsewhere. The tight end kind of just gets overlooked. Indy receivers, you see Alec Pierce get some crazy receptions. Doesn't look good for Michael Pittman Jr., especially where you drafted him. I did not get a lot of Michael Pittman Jr. going into the season. Didn't really trust him all that much. They also had the rookie guy get a big catch. Anthony Richardson is going to continue to run the ball a lot. Don't love the wide receivers there. If you have Alec Pierce, he's like a low-end wide receiver 2 right now. Michael Pittman Jr. is probably the same. We'll see what Donnie Mitchell ends up doing as we continue the season. Again, week 1, we don't know too much yet, but Alec Pierce is something, it seems. Tight ends there, not a whole lot going on either. And Jonathan Taylor had a good game. Maybe his ceiling's still capped like we thought with Anthony Richardson running the ball, but he's going to have a good season if he's healthy still. Moving down, Jacksonville, Miami, another good game. Crazy situation with Tyreek Hill to start the day. Gets not arrested or detained for a minute on his way to the stadium. Slow start for Miami. Hot start for Jacksonville, and then it switched. Both quarterbacks are like low-end QB1s. I'm not really interested in starting either of them. Tyreek Hill went crazy. We all expected that. Jalen Waddle had a fine game. Did have a concussion scare, which you hate to see because he's already so injury-prone, but he came back and he was fine. Devon Achane, I think, is the story for the Dolphins. He is clearly RB1. I was wrong about him. The only way I can be right about Devon Achane is if he gets hurt now. I'm still worried about his usage. I think if they continue to give him that many touches every game, he's eventually going to get hurt. He's so small, but you just don't know. So Raheem Mostert's a bust unless Achane gets hurt. I'm going to start sitting Raheem Mostert every week unless Achane's out. Tight ends there, Jonnu Smith is like a fine stream play for tight ends if you need them. And then that's about it, I think, for Miami. I don't remember any other guy doing much today. Jacksonville, ETN literally split carries with Tank Bigsby, which is a huge red flag for me. I think ETN's better. However, I think they're realizing that they want to use Bigsby more as like that split backfield role, which is like what all teams are doing nowadays. Makes me very nervous. If you don't have Bigsby, go pick him up if you can, if he's not taken. Wide receivers, there's a lot of them. Bryce Thomas Jr. had a great game. I think he's probably going to slowly emerge as wide receiver 1 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then Kirk had a bad drop today, but then he had a great catch. Kirk's just going to be like the slot guy who's probably going to be consistent targets, but I don't think he's going to be all that great this year. He's probably like a low-end wide receiver 2 for me, in my opinion. Brian Thomas is probably like a wide receiver 2 for me. I like him more for the full season. And then going to Ingram, he had a bust day. I think that's just going to be the story of tight ends this year. Like, they're all going to be hit or miss, and it's just going to be very frustrating. So it's just going to come down to if they catch a touchdown, if they have a good game, I think. So, yeah, Jacksonville blew the lead. Kind of embarrassing. Ultimately, it was a good game, but Yeah, let's move on. This one will be pretty quick. Carolina, New Orleans. Carolina's trash. Maybe the worst team in the league. They probably are looking to get the number one pick, at least top 3 pick. Bryce Young's not very good, and he's surrounded by a bad team. I would not play any Carolina player if you do not have to, especially the receivers. Maybe you keep Leggett on your bench just to see if he emerges as the year goes on. You probably have like Hubbard. Maybe you have to play him, but if you don't have to, I wouldn't expect me. You just play him in the matchups. Like if they get a good matchup, you can play some of these guys, but if they're playing against a decent defense, they're just going to struggle. Jonathan Brooks, you keep him on your IR. Maybe he emerges late in the year and you can start him in good matchups, but it looks horrible. And I'm sorry for if you're a Carolina Panthers fan. The Saints went crazy on him. I don't think the Saints are going to be like the craziest team in the world this year, but I think their Derek Carr did look good, and he's like a pro. So I think you're not starting Derek Carr necessarily in leagues, but I think like he's going to contribute enough for their offense to like work. So like Alvin Kamara is easily an RB1 still, if you didn't think so going into the season. Without an injury, he's going to be great this year. He catches passes as well. The receivers, Rashid Shaheed had a great catch for a touchdown. He's just going to be like a wide receiver, low-end wide receiver 2 play where like he's boom or bust if he catches a long touchdown or not. Olave pretty much did nothing today. Do not panic on Olave because it was just like they didn't need Olave today. There's going to be plenty of other games where they're going to be down or it's going to be a close game where they're going to be throwing a lot more and he's going to be getting a lot more targets. They just did not need him today, and it ended up just working out how it did. Do not panic on Olave. Taysom Hill looks like a legit like threat as like the tight end landscape is so bad. If you want to go pick up Taysom Hill and you're able to play him in your tight end spot, then go and do that probably, or at least have him on your bench. All right, moving on. Another horrible team and a mediocre team that looked very good. Minnesota against Giants. Giants look horrible. Daniel Jones sucks. Simple as that. Malik Neighbors is going to be a good player this year if he stays healthy. However, his ceiling's capped because of the offense and how bad Daniel Jones is. He's pretty much the only startable player every week, and you just hope that he continues to see targets. Not starting Daniel Jones. Singletary pretty much did nothing. I mean, Singletary's like a spot start as well. If they have a decent matchup, you can play Singletary, but I'm not confident in him all of season. And that's pretty much it. I mean, they have some other wide receivers there, but they obviously do nothing so far, and they never will pretty much. So, same with tight ends, I think. Minnesota, Aaron Jones looked pretty good. They had a good matchup against the Giants. The Giants are terrible, so I'm not super confident in the offense. However, they can hold their own. Aaron Jones looks like a nice addition to the team. He's probably a low-end RB1, high-end RB2 right now. Justin Jefferson did his thing. I think his ceiling is capped this year just because of the quarterback play in general, but he's going to get his own still. So he's a wide receiver 1. When Hawkinson comes back, I think he'll be a good tight end to make sure you're playing, but I don't really care for the tight end they got right now. And that's about it for that one, guys. Raiders and Chargers. Not a very exciting afternoon slate of games, really, but Raiders look horrible. They're going to be horrible this year. They're probably going to get like a top 7 pick in the draft. Top 5, maybe. Minshew just isn't that good. Adams will get his own. He's still wide receiver 1 as of now. Am worried about him getting injured like last year, and worried about him getting mentally distraught because of how bad the team is. So, going into week 2, we're fine. But if we get to week 8 and they're like 2-6, Devontae Adams might like quit on the team or something. So maybe you think about trading him, but maybe just don't overthink it's week 1. I don't know. He's still wide receiver 1. He's going to get some targets and stuff. So yeah. Jacoby Myers made some catches today. He's like a low-end wide receiver 2. He seems fine. They're going to have to be throwing the ball bottom line. Zamir White and Addison, sort of a split backfield. Zamir White looked very explosive, but kind of so did Addison. So I think they're just going to kind of be like an annoying split backfield, and you just have to hope that like your guy scores a touchdown. So don't love the Raiders offense is bottom line. Brock Bowers does look legit though. if you have Brock Bowers, you can consider him a tight end one. You can play him. He seems pretty fun, and that's a good pickup for the Raiders. The Chargers, weird game from them. Jim Harbaugh's debut there. Herbert's fine. He's like a low-end QB1. Josh Palmer didn't look all that great. He had some opportunities, but just didn't convert them, which is, I think, is kind of like the story of Josh Palmer's life right now. Like, he has all the most opportunity in the world. He just, like, never converts on it. Ladd McConkey looks great. Ladd is a high-end wide receiver, too. I think that connection between him and Herbert is just going to blossom as the season goes on. The running back situation, Dobbins looks way more explosive, which is good for him, man. He's battled so many crazy injuries, but if you have Dobbins, I think he's like a mid-tier wide receiver 2, and then Gus Edwards is like a low-end wide receiver, or running back 2, running backs. Gus Edwards might hog some touchdowns, but I think Dobbins is overall the more explosive back that's probably going to get some pass-catching opportunities. So, as I was saying going into the offseason, I didn't get as much Dobbins as I probably should have, but he looked good in week 1. So we'll see what the injury situations continue to look like as the season goes on, but so far they look fine. Tight end situation for the Chargers, not much of note. So, yeah, they're just like going to be a mediocre offense, so there's some value there, but I think McConkey's the big one. Moving on, my goodness, once again, remember I'm a Denver fan, so Denver bias always a little bit, but Denver at Seattle. We'll start with Seattle so I can go on a little Denver rant after, but the Seahawks look fine. Once they kind of figured out that they just should stop messing around and just run the ball, they easily won the game, essentially. I know the score doesn't look that way, but they did. Geno Smith is not playable. He's just not that good, what comes down to it. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith-Njigba, they hyped us up all offseason saying, oh, this is going to be a pass-heavy offense. We're going to be throwing the ball around, spreading it out this year. Maybe that is so. I mean, Denver's defense isn't bad. However, that you can tell they need to rely on the run game still. Like, Kenneth Walker's good, Zach Charbonnet's good. I don't love the receivers. I think DK is like a mid-tier, low-tier wide receiver 2. And Njigba and Tyler Lockett, as of right now, with all of them healthy, are like flex plays at best. Jackson Smith-Njigba didn't look very good. Tyler Lockett did look good. He got more targets, but maybe Tyler Lockett's like a low-end wide receiver 2. Kind of even with DK, I guess. DK just has more of a touchdown upside, but he got locked down by Pat Surtain today, so I'd still keep him in that wide receiver 2 category. And Njigba, I mean, maybe he'll emerge later in the season, but it's not looking good. I like Njigba, but he did nothing today. I mentioned Noah Fant also is like, you can stream him if you want, but he's not very good either as the tight end for the Seahawks. Ken Walker had a great day. Should have had 2 touchdowns, but one of them got called back for a holding call. And then Charbonnet went in later and caught a really nice touchdown pass. I think both of those backs are great. Ken Walker had an injury scare at the end of the game. I think he's fine. I think that backfield's not quite 50-50. It might turn that way as the season goes on. I think they're both good backs. It's annoying right now because they use them both. However, Ken Walker was getting the vast majority of the carries. So if you have Ken Walker, you look fantastic right now. You just have to hope he stays healthy and they don't start like limiting his touches. If you have Charbonnet, you have like an elite handcuff. So good job. Denver, not too long on this, but I do want to take a quick rant for Denver. They're horrible. Bo Nix, rookie QB, so you kind of could expect not great things from them. It was all around bad, though, and you thought having Sean Payton as your coach, you'd have some sort of offense. They had none. Shout out Seattle's defense. They do look like they have a decent defense this year. However, the Broncos' offense is just still so horrible, and it's been almost a decade now of horrible offense, and it's starting to wear on a Broncos fan here. So you can't start any of their guys. Don't need to even have Bo Nix on your roster in most leagues. Don't need to really have any Broncos receivers on your roster besides if you want Cortland Sutton. But even then, he's like a flex play when you want to just use him when there's like bye weeks and injuries starting to come up. The running back situation looks horrible. Javonte Williams looked not great today. Either did McLaughlin. I think McLaughlin's ultimately the better play in PPR because at least he gets some catches out of the backfield. But like, if the running game isn't going to be there, and then Javonte Williams is just like worthless this year. So he's like a flex play or very low running back 2 rest of the season. McLaughlin probably same thing. And then they even gave Estime some carries. So, like, maybe you just wait until one of them gets hurt and then you have, like, the handcuff deal. But don't want to start any of them. Same with their tight ends. They pretty much didn't have tight ends today. Dulcich and Trotman, don't care about any of them right now. Moving on. Dallas and Cleveland. Cleveland got stomped. Deshaun Watson is horrible. That's what I was scared of going into the season about Judy and Cooper. I did not really care for either of them towards our draft season started because of Deshaun Watson's play. He's just not good anymore. We'll see if they decide to change it up at quarterback into the next few weeks, but I'm not a huge fan of their offense at all. Jerome Ford didn't do anything. Now, the Dallas defense is good, so Jerome Ford's still like a running back 2 play probably until Nick Chubb's back, if he comes back. Jared Judy caught a touchdown, so maybe I was a little too low on him. I don't think he's good still, so I'm still putting him as like low-end wide receiver 2 flex play. Amari Cooper's like a wide receiver 2 right now if Deshaun Watson is his quarterback. So, Njoku was a tight end 1, and then he got injured today. So, doesn't look good. The tight end injuries in this game were unfortunate, which we'll get into the Dallas one in a second. But so we'll have to keep an eye on Njoku's injury. Dallas' side, they looked elite. Dak got paid today. CeeDee Lamb kind of did his thing out there. Unfortunately, no touchdown. Dak's at QB1, you start him. CeeDee Lamb's a wide receiver 1, you start him. Brandon Cooks, Tolbert, flex plays probably. Low-end wide receiver 2's max. And then the running back situation's ugly. Zeke got the touchdown. I think they do like Dowdle. They were running him quite a bit later in the game. You start Zeke as like a running back 2 right now, and then you have Dowdle as like a flex play. However, that could switch easily throughout the season, and Zeke could easily get hurt, and then Dowdle be like a wide receiver 2 instead. So that's kind of what we planned on. I'm still a Dowdle fan. They gave him some opportunity. We'll see what happens. Moving on to Washington. Oh, why am I moving on? No, the big one for Dallas. The injury to Ferguson, the tight end. It looks like Ferguson's avoided a major injury. It looked like maybe it could just be, that's what they're saying. It looked like maybe it's just a hyperextension. Don't really know how long that's going to be. Maybe he misses a week or 2 if he's okay. More tests to come. We'll keep an eye on that. Ferguson, low-end tight end 1 if you have to play him. He didn't do a whole lot. He did get hurt with like a quarter and a half left, but even then he only had like 3 catches. So for like less than 20 yards, not very inspiring. If he is hurt though, for a long time, then maybe the backup tight end for Dallas is Schumacher is worth a pickup. Moving on, Washington and Tampa. Interesting game because I think we'll start with Washington because I want to talk about Daniels. He probably had the best game for the rookie quarterbacks out of all of them. He looks like possibly the next Lamar. Like, he's quick, he's fast, he wants to run a lot. You just have to hope he stays healthy because he was taking some hits today. Terry McLaurin didn't do a ton. I think it's just because Daniels just isn't like a good thrower right now. Maybe that'll change. Maybe it doesn't change that much. I think Terry McLaurin's like a low-end wide receiver 2 at the moment. That could easily change though if Daniels starts to click. Rest of the Washington receivers, none. I don't want to play any of them. If you have them, I would not want to start them. Brian Robinson Jr. looked awesome. He's the running back 1 there. Eckler comes in and relieves him and takes some of the passing role, but they still trust Robinson passing and catching the ball out of backfield. So I love Robinson. He's like a low-end running back 1 after week 1. Eckler's probably a flex play. And then the tight end situation with Ertz, he's like a streaming option. We'll see if Ben Sinnott ends up like overtaking him at all this season. All right. But Daniels is like, you can start him too because of his rushing ability. He's like a low on QB1, I think. Maybe QB2. Maybe you just continue to wait to see how he progresses. But Daniels did look pretty good. I mean, he got a decent amount of fantasy points today. Tampa, Baker looked like him. Baker was crazy. He looked confident. He looked savvy. He looked like a pro. Like Baker, like they fixed Baker Mayfield in Tampa. He looked awesome. I would be comfortable starting him if you have to in like bigger leagues. He doesn't run a lot, but he can a little bit. Like it's like Mahomes. Like he can run a little bit, but he won't a lot. But he looked really good. So if your quarterback play is a little iffy, then you can go and pick him up. Chris Godwin, they're playing him in the slot now, and he's great. So Chris Godwin's like a low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2. Mike Evans is wide receiver 1. He caught 2 touchdowns today. I'm a little salty about it because I played him in my main league. Probably going to lose because of that, but he's awesome. He catches everything that's around him. In their tight end, like a stream play if you have to, he gets some targets, but it's just not very inspiring. Rachaad White looked pretty good. I mean, they give him a lot of opportunities. He catches the ball, so he ends up racking up some points in PPR, but I will say Bucky Irving looks more explosive. So keep an eye on that as the year goes on. Rachaad White's fine right now. He's like a low-end wide running back 1. Bucky Irving's like a flex play right now, but if that starts to change or like Bucky Irving's like could take over a little bit more eventually, or at the very least he's like an elite handcuff. So we'll see how that continues to go. Also, the rookie wide receiver for Tampa had a good game as well. Keep him in mind. He needs to be rostered like a flex play right now in deep leagues. So last one, the Sunday night game that we just got done watching. Very good game. One of the better games of the week as well. Rams in Detroit. Start with Detroit. They ended up pulling it out in overtime. Detroit's just going to be a really good team this year. I don't love Goff. He doesn't run at all, and he's just honestly not that good. He's just surrounded by amazing players and amazing talent and a great offensive line. He's fine, though, to play if you have to, just because like he's guaranteed, like he has a good floor. The Lions backfield, Montgomery scores the OT touchdown. At least I believe it was Montgomery. I just stopped watching the game, but I already forgot. I think it was Montgomery, and then Jahmyr Gibbs has his normal usage. It's going to look a lot like last year. They like both backs a lot. They're both playable because they're both in such a good offense with such a good running game. I think Montgomery's probably like a mid-range wide running back 2. I mean, he's touchdown dependent, so he just scores a lot of touchdowns. Maybe he's like a lower end running back 2. Jahmyr Gibbs is like a low end running back 1, high end running back 2 because of his pass catching ability for PPR leagues. They both looked fine though. Laporta looks fine. I don't believe he had a crazy game, but that's like the story of the tight ends this week. I think that's going to be how it is all season. Like some of them will have great games, some of them will just do nothing. It all just to be dependent on if they score a touchdown. It's going to be very annoying. I think tight ends should have just like been unless you're in a tight end premium league, you should have just like waited on tight ends this year. Amon-Ra didn't have a crazy good game. I think the Rams defense was like keying in on him and like making Jameson Williams beat him, which he did. So don't worry about Amon-Ra. He'll be completely fine. I think it was just the game flow and the game plan against him limited him a little bit this week. It's just week 1. Some guys have bust weeks. Amon-Ra's going to be fine. Jameson Williams had a great game. That's a guy that as a riser. I would probably put him as like a wide receiver 2 right now. Amon-Ra's still a wide receiver 1. Not worried about him. Laporta's tight end 1, obviously. So, overall good game from Detroit. The Rams, they also had a good game. I was kind of almost rooting for him to the end there. Matthew Stafford is just so awesome. I love Matthew Stafford. Respect Matthew Stafford. However, he is like a low-end QB1 in fantasy. He just doesn't get any rushing. He already has like ankle injuries and stuff from the Detroit game, it seems like. I think he's going to be totally fine. He finished the game, but you just get nervous with him. Yeah, low-end QB1, though. You don't want to play him, but if larger leagues, if you have to, he's fine. Moving on to the receivers there. Puka Nacua, unfortunately, left the game with a knee injury. He did try to come back and play, so I don't think it's like super serious. However, we're going to have to monitor and see if he misses time. Cooper Kupp is him, And we all knew that if he's healthy, he's him. And I don't know why he's being drafted so much farther after Puka Nacua. I mean, they should have been drafted closer together at the very least, like a Debo and Ayuk were. But Puka going so early was crazy. I mean, Puka's also great, but he's just, if Cooper Kupp's healthy, he's maybe going to be wide receiver 1. Cooper Kupp went off. He looked fantastic. The connection's still there. I think he went off more because Puka went out in the game. But, I mean, if Puka's going to miss any time, it's just better for Cooper Kupp. Now, Cooper Kupp's relatively healthy all year. He's probably going to be wide receiver 1 in the NFL again. So, great steal for people that drafted Cooper Kupp in like the 4th round, 5th round, even sometimes in ESPN leagues. So, he looks awesome. I will also say the Kyren Williams situation was way overhyped. Blake Corum, I don't even think touched the field. And if he did, I didn't notice him. So Kyren's wide receiver or running back 1 as long as he's healthy, and there's not even a question about it. He looked great. He looked fine. Cooper Kupp, by the way, wide receiver 1. If Puka comes back, he's lower end wide receiver 1. I think if Cooper Kupp's healthy in the offense, he's the guy. And then Puka still could be great. It's just he's lower end than Kupp if they're both healthy, in my opinion. They're both can be wide receiver 1s. It's just I would think Kupp's going to be better than Puka if they're both healthy. So keep an eye on Puka injury. I will say the tight end for the Rams, Parkinson, I think his name is, something like that, 86 for the Rams. He did have a handful of touches and opportunities tonight. He's one of those guys, like if you have Ferguson and Njoku or, Mark Andrews even, I would be going out and maybe thinking about picking up him as like a streaming option. I have Ferguson in my main league, and if he's going to miss a couple weeks, I'm 100% going to go target Parkinson. I think he probably had like at least 5 or 6 targets tonight, and he looks pretty good. Like he's pretty quick and for a big guy, so I'm a fan of his. Obviously not like a game break or anything, but if Puka's missing time, maybe more targets can go to that tight end spot. So we'll see. That's a guy I'm targeting. Obviously, you see the Jets and the 49ers are not playing yet. It's Sunday night. I'm recording this. We'll see what happens in that game. I mostly just wanted to have the itch to get a video out to you guys and reviewing all the games that happened this weekend and stuff. So I'll probably get out another video either later this week, giving you guys some of my best starts and sits maybe of week 2, or we might just do the same thing I'm doing right now and do a review like next Sunday or Monday. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I know this is a longer video, so I'm going to end it here. If you find this entertaining or helpful whatsoever, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll keep getting fantasy content and just NFL football content out for you guys this fall and winter. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. And that's going to be it. Happy week 1 of the NFL season, everybody. Hope it treated you well. Until the next one, peace out, guys.